On the evening of August the 7th, 1889, a train was on its way from Gouverneur, New York to Montreal, Canada. It was carrying the Barnum and Bailey Circus, well known around the world as the greatest show on earth. Barnum and Bailey Circus had been in operation since 1881, and its team was a well-run unit who were well-versed in traveling by train around the country. It's what they did. That evening, on or before 10:30 p.m., word got out around the town of Potsdam that a train had crashed. According to Josiah L. Brown, a resident of the town and local historian. He had heard that there was a crash, and he visited the site the next morning and observed that there were 27 horses, 1 mule and 2 camels dead, and that the situation was appalling. Acting Assistant Supervisor Frank P. Brown of the RW&O Railroad was on the train during the accident and stated that the train was part of a 3-train convoy and that it was the second in the order of these trains. It was the train that carried the animals and the trainers. It was carriages that derailed, not the locomotive, and a brakeman had rushed back with a lantern to get the 3rd train to stop before it reached the scene. Reports varied between witnesses as to what and how many animals had been killed in the incident. John Gaffney, Jr., the son of the man who buried the animals, stated in 1980 that his, at the time 19-year-old father, had been tasked with burying the animals that died in the wreck in a field southwest of the tracks. His father had reported burying 2 elephants, 7 tigers, and 27 horses. The mainstream media of the time mostly reported 27 horses, a mule, and 2 camels. It was fortunate that none of the people on board the train were seriously injured and that there was a couple of minor injuries, but they were not serious enough to stop those people helping with the cleanup. What was the cause of the derailment? It was speculated that a rail line had split or possibly a wheel axle had broken. A local farmer housed the distressed animals until another train arrived to collect them. The rest of the trains headed on to Montreal to get the circus ready to perform on schedule. Barnum and Bailey had been no strangers to train crashes. In fact, the circus industry as a whole had a history riddled with train crashes. It was a fact that transporting a circus by rail was way more economical than by road. Road travel back in the late 80s and early 90s was more perilous because the road system was more suited for horse and buggy travel, which is not fast, and the roads outside of cities were rough. A lot more could go wrong on roads back then, which could have created opportunities for some of the dangerous animals to escape. Prior to the Potsdam crash, P.T. Barnum's Great Traveling Exposition was involved in a train crash in 1877. The train was on its way to Des Moines in Iowa. There were 7 carriages with 1 advance carriage of the circus for workers whose job it was to put up posters before the main party arrived. The weather was bad in the area, and some say the worst in living memory, with torrential rain washing out bridges on the route. The train went down passing over a damaged bridge at Little Rock Creek, some 9 miles east of Des Moines. The crash ended up killing 20 people, including the engineer and 7 circus employees, plus 33 injured. Jumbo the elephant had been purchased from the London Zoo by P.T. Barnum in 1882, after much protest from the British public. Barnum had paid $10,000 for Jumbo, the largest elephant in the world. Jumbo became the circus's biggest attraction. Barnum had also employed Jumbo's London trainer Matthew Scott. Unfortunately, Jumbo died in a train loading yard in St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada in 1885. The story goes that Jumbo was being led across a track and had stubbornly refused to move off the track as a locomotive approached, and he was hit and mortally injured. There has been much speculation over what actually happened that day. The only images of the incident show a crowd of people around Jumbo lying on an embankment below the train line. Jumbo was eventually stuffed and used as a drawcard for the circus for many years afterward. The show must go on. Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth toured Britain from December 1897 until November 1898, then touring the rest of Europe. The show returned to Britain for another run lasting from April to November 1899. During the 2 tours of Britain, the show wintered in London. The show remained in Europe until the end of the 1902 season, and then returned to the USA. At some time during its time in Europe, a train accident seems to have occurred, possibly in Vienna, late 1899.